Welcome back to another video, traders, and if you're new to the channel, welcome to Tesla Trends. I'm TJ. We got a great video for you today, but before we get into it, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Now let's take a look at the chart. I'm going to try a new format today, so please let me know what you guys think about it. I'm going to have the face cam in the lower corner here, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we're going to look at some different time frames here and try and get some perspective. First, I just want to look at the indexes very quickly. Up and down, kind of a volatile day, although ironically VIX is down today significantly, and the SPY closed fairly flat. So after a huge jump this morning, pullback in the afternoon, and recovering throughout the close, we ended up just up 0.15%, so basically totally flat. And the NASDAQ was very similar, drop or a pop, drop, and then recovery to end just about flat. And as I mentioned, the VIX was actually down after closing on a high and falling through after hours and pre-market. Had a little bit of a spike in the afternoon, but as the market recovered, it fell down. So the VIX is actually down about 4% today. So it's interesting to see, that Tesla didn't really recover with the market. But what I want to do is just zoom out a little bit and try and get some perspective and also give you a little bit of an idea of my thought process. So, this is a technical analysis channel, or at least it started as one, but I know I don't do typical technical analysis. I think it's more fair to say that what I do is trend analysis. And that's just kind of how I look at charts, and that's evolved over my trading career into what it is today. That's not true. I use a lot of technical indicators, but I don't really rely on them on a day-to-day focus to the point where it's not something that I really ever talk about in my videos. What I really rely on is just looking at different time frames, creating price levels, and following trends. And so that's what I end up talking about in my videos. So what I look at typically are three different time frames that I call just long, medium, and short. Long term being more than 6 months, short term being less than 3 weeks, and medium being that gap in the middle, more than 3 weeks but less than 6 months. So at any given time, any stock, you could say there's really three trends going on. And so what is Tesla? What are the trends for Tesla right now? Well, I think over the long term, or at least up until very recently, over the long term, we obviously had this downtrend. Now, I think that's been broken. You could say it remains to be seen, but I think we've been seeing sideways action now from around 622. So about 3 solid weeks of sideways action. To me, we pushed through the downtrend line, and we've been seeing sideways trending for 3 weeks. I think the downtrend is broken, and I think right now we are in an uptrend, going back, at least for the long term, going back to 519. We've held this line for the most part, with a couple of tests here, especially most recently on July 8th, where we bounced all the way off of the 619 level. But for the most part, we've been holding this trend now for almost 2 months, going back to 519 at this low at 547. We've been holding this uptrend. It's obviously not a long-term trend yet because it's only 2 months old, but I think it's the longest one that we have to rely on since the previous trend has been broken. Technically, I would say that remains to be seen. It's not a long-term trend yet until it holds for at least 6 months. But the previous trend has been broken, so we're sort of in a wiggle room right now, and I like to favor the newer trend because trends are typically strongest or most likely to continue the closer they are to the beginning of the trend. So as soon as that trend switches, that's the highest likelihood that it is going to continue. The longer the trend goes on, the more likely it is that the trend will break. if that makes sense. I know that's a kind of a word garble. So technically, theoretically, based on my thought process, the long-term trend right now is an uptrend going back to 519. For the medium term, we've been seeing sideways action, like I mentioned, basically since we broke out of the downtrend here. So you could even go back to this big pop. We've been holding this uptrend for 2 months now, but we popped out around 623, 624, and since then we haven't really been able to get above the 695 level, but we've also been holding above the 619 level. So I would say the intermediate trend, the medium term trend right now, is a sideways trend between this price channel, 695 and 619. That's a big range, but Tesla's a volatile stock, so that happens sometimes. Up until a couple of weeks ago, and I did say this in videos, we were trending sideways between these levels, between 695 and 669. Now obviously we fell through that in rather dramatic fashion and ended up getting what I think is a very bullish indicator, a strong bounce that led all the way to another test of the top of our range within just a couple of days. And so all this to say that if you look at the last 3 days, the last 2 or 3 days, in the immediate term, even if you look at the past couple of weeks or so, you could easily argue that we are in a very short-term downtrend here, which honestly plays into the very longer-term downtrend line as well, because we're kind of following this downtrend line here. But I don't think that that's what's most relevant. I think what's most relevant to me right now is that we're holding this sideways trend. We have a strong bounce off of our bottom support most recently, and now after testing the top of the channel again, we appear to be finding support on this downtrend line. So we're holding above it now, and let's just zoom in a little bit to get a closer look. This was the close today, so a volatile day. Certainly was looking to see us hold above this supported 669 today and hopefully work back up towards the top of the channel. But you never know what's going to happen. We didn't get that. After a couple of tests and a little bit of a pop, we ended up following all the way down through and coming down to even fall below this during market hours, and now recovering after hours. And as you can see, we're following this trend line very closely, but holding above it. So as opposed to the last time where we had a test to the downside, we fell dramatically through this downtrend line, recovered slightly in after hours and pre-market, and then as soon as the market opened, we again dramatically fell right through that, and after hours we fell again, and that's when we finally got the bounce. So basically that's the last time we tested the downside, and now we're testing it again right now. So what I want to see is a better performance than last time, and so far holding up right here, we're seeing that. As long as we don't go all the way down to test the bottom of this channel again, to me that's higher highs, or at least higher lows, sorry. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you guys. And the idea, the thought process behind this approach is just to have a level of consistency when you look at a chart, because on a day-to-day basis, especially with a chart that's as volatile as Tesla, you see price levels broken all the time. So are you going to have to change your opinion or your thesis every single day to make it fit with what's going on the chart? And really, even whether it's technical analysis, trend analysis, even fundamental analysis to a certain extent, you're really only giving yourself a probability. Certain people talk about patterns, and I talk about patterns sometimes too. Bull flags, head and shoulders, cup and handle, all these different types of patterns. And analysts have found over the history of market evaluation for over 100 years now that in certain situations when these patterns form, they have X probability, and usually it's not much more than 50%. Like I think a bull flag pattern, which are considered fairly reliable, they're really only something like 65%. Let me Google that really quick. Okay, so I was pretty close. Going by SamuraiTradingAcademy.com, it says a bull flag pattern has a 67% success chance of continuing to the upside. Bear flags have a 67.7% chance of continuation to the downside. And these are some of our most reliable patterns. Ascending triangles, 73%. Ascending channels, 73%. Double top is a very popular pattern. It's not that common, but they're around 75%. Some of these I don't even, these are getting a little bit out there. Head and shoulders, certainly one of the most reliable patterns that I know of, is at 83% probability. So there's still a 17% chance, almost a 1 in 5 chance, that indicator is just going to be wrong on that time. You'd never know. So you're giving yourself a better chance. But any analysis of the stock market, you have to take it with that grain of salt. There is no sure bet. So for me, I wanna look at trends, and I want to have them make sense for me, and this is how I do it. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an insight as to what I'm looking at. So when I see a day like today, where as opposed to holding this support at 669, which I try to be bullish on Tesla all the time. I want us to go up. I want us never to go down. So as opposed to doing that, holding up as I wanted us to, we fall down and we test the bottom of this channel. Do we have to throw the bull thesis out the window, or does it make sense with what we're looking at? And I think the easiest way to do that is to keep things in perspective across multiple time frames, and realize that there's always more than one trend happening, and there's always a million different factors that can affect the price on any one given day. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Zoom out, take a look at the price action from a larger context, and sometimes maybe it does change things. Here, breaking through this level, holding above for 10 days, to me that changes things. We've broken this downtrend that we were unable to break going almost 6 months now. So that's how I try to evaluate stocks with my trends. And so today, even though it's a bad day, if I zoom out a little bit, I look at the medium-term trend line. We're still moving sideways, and technically we're taking a stair step up from the last time that we had a test to the downside. There's going to be good days and bad days. So when you have a bad day, how bad is it compared to the last bad day? And this one, compared to our last bad day where we actually came all the way down to 620, we kind of had a little step here around 627. So right now we're at 654. We're still 30 points above that. That's not to say tomorrow that we couldn't drop more, but for now, we're still in a good spot. We're still moving sideways, but we're trending towards the higher side of that range. We're holding above our uptrend line, and we're holding above our downtrend line. So to me, despite dropping 2.2% today, it's still bullish continuation. And honestly, what I try and do is just to be patient. I'm going to wait till tomorrow, and I'm going to reevaluate again. You can't make any rash decision off of one bad day. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. I didn't necessarily plan to go on my soapbox there and have a rant about trend analysis, but I guess I don't know, I was feeling a little bit self-conscious about putting a bullish spin on a day where we fell 15 points and dropped over 2.5% or over 2%. So I guess I felt like I needed to explain myself. So there you go. I hope some of you took a little something out of that, or at least have a little bit more of an insight as to what I'm looking at, what I'm talking about when I do these analysis videos. The market was flat today and Tesla fell, but it's not the end of the world. All right, it's just one day. So again, we'll look at it tomorrow, we'll reevaluate again, and we'll see if we're still feeling as bullish. But yeah, as long as this uptrend holds and we stay above the downtrend line, I think we're going to continue to move in the right direction. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Please, I love to hear your thoughts. As always, what else are you hearing as far as news and catalysts? Of course, we have earnings coming up, and I think that's the big one that hopefully should push us higher. But I'm sure there's a lot of things going on out there that I don't read about because I just don't have time. I tend to look at the chart and ignore the news. So please, let me know what you guys are thinking about Tesla stock and what you're reading and hearing about. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.